National Arena, that is Rink A, the players making their way onto the ice for Day 5 of Training Camp 2.0, the fourth day of skating in this Phase 3 for the Vegas Golden Knights. As you look on via the next-gen camera, we'll bring you the live stream of today's workout and then segue into the cool-down show, which will feature an interview with newly signed Vegas Golden Knight prospect Jack Dugan. Shane Knighty, Gary Lawless will be part of that presentation. Here inside Studio 31, I'm Darren Millard. You'll hear the voice of Mike McKenna, who has joined the broadcast, and that is Marc-Andre Fleury on the ice for the first time in Phase 3, Mike.
It's nice to see him back out there wearing his white equipment. Had a couple days worth of maintenance, and he's back. You know, he skated the whole Phase 2, so he's had plenty of work during this pause, and great to see those pads and that mask back on the ice for the Golden Knights.
It's funny, Jonathan Marchessault was the guy that was skating around talking to Robin Lehner about his new gear, and then who do we see in the first couple of strides of Marc-Andre Fleury's appearance is Jonathan Marchessault just checking in with the goalies.
That's totally normal. You know, when I played with Jonathan Marchessault, he did the same thing. He'd always be right in your ear the whole time around. He'd love to talk your equipment, but by the end of the conversation, he'd always turn to you and tell you how he's going to score on you. He'd never let you off the hook. He'd tell you, hey, I'm coming high glove, high blocker on you today. It's going to happen. He always made it a fun battle during practice, and these two have a special connection too, both being French-Canadian and building the friendship and the relationship they have these past several years.
You know, as much as Pete DeBoer and Kelly McCrimmon said that you will see Marc-Andre Fleury at some point this week, just this visual has to be just a relief to the fans.
For sure, you know, and some of the speculation around everything that happens in this return to play is that when someone's on the ice, you know, there's not a real explanation of what's going on. So to see him back out there just signifies that, hey, Golden Knights are back at full strength here. Their goalie's back with the team, and he'd been in the building too. You know, fans had seen him on the bench. You could see him on the bulletin here. So just having everybody back at full strength, that full lineup, it's a good sight.
He skated the entire Phase 2 process, so he has been on the ice a significant amount of time. This, though, is going to be different because he's on the ice with the coaches and the full team for the first time.
Yeah, it's going to be getting back to your normal routine where you're seeing shots from everybody. It's not just your little group of players that you've had, and he worked hard the whole time. You know, you see some of the clips from Phase 2. He can't get the competitive juice out of his system. It's who he is. It's ingrained to him. He battles on everything. So, you know, going into today, having a few days off, I'm sure he's happy to be back out there again. You see him with Derek Englund here, smiling, having a good time. And it is such a different dynamic when you get back on the ice with all your teammates into a full practice setting with the coaches blowing the whistles, going to the whiteboard, diagramming. You know, that's really, as a goaltender, where you start to hone your craft and get back into game mode. And I'm sure Marc-Andre is going to be very happy to see some of those situations today.
What's he thinking going into his first practice with the group here in Phase 3, coming off a few days off? What does he focus on in his game?
It's going to be all the fundamentals, the simple things of tracking the puck, getting reads. You'll probably see him stay on his edges more often for the first part of practice where he's just getting the feel for it. When we talk about tracking, it really means dialing in on the puck with your eyes, following it into every save. You know, for people that played baseball as a kid, it's watching the ball all the way to your glove. No different for a goaltender in hockey, that you want to watch it to your pads, to your gloves, put rebounds where you possibly can. So he'll start off with that. He'll most likely build his game further as it goes, start to go down and make more saves in a game-like setting, and then build in that competitive battle to it. It never leaves him. You know, we watch him in practice every day, and we see how he goes through. He just never quits on anything, which is so admirable. But, you know, you'll probably see him kind of work into it. You've seen it league-wide, too, when goalie coaches across the NHL have talked about how they're leading the horse to water. They're letting their goalies feel pucks first, build into it. You go through the little fundamentals, their skating movements, simple saves before you start building on to complex situations where you may see more than one shot at a time, rebound situations, and things that are more strenuous.
Rink A, this is the group that will go through the workout, then we'll get a flood, and they'll do more game-like situations, we anticipate, as they have traditionally, the first 3 days, brought the group that is skating simultaneously on Rink B, bring all the players together and do some simulations on that side. But the good news is Marc-Andre Fleury is on the ice for the first time in Phase 3, joining this group that includes Alex Tuck, that you see, Mark Stone, Max Pacioretty, also out there. See this group here, and And now we have Robin Leonard joining in with a conversation with Derek England. Is that Nate Schmidt?
Yep, Nate Schmidt's hiding in there as well.
Okay, are they stretching or are they catching up?
Oh, they're hanging out. You know, there's a casual aspect to stretch here, but this is the water cooler, if you will, at a normal office. You know, the guys are. You can see Marc-Andre gesturing there. Who knows what they're talking about? But usually, this is where you get together and have a laugh, and you're kind of just hanging out, talking about what may go through practice. And yeah, there's a stretching component too. But this is one of those rituals as a player that you look forward to, making little passes around everybody and just generally chirping people as they go by too. If anybody's got bad style that day, that's where you may hear it from someone. And it's always fun for me to see the two goaltenders hang out together because you know there's a special bond there. And to see these two who became teammates later in the season having this relationship is really nice to see as well. So, yeah, usually talking shop. Sometimes you're talking equipment. Sometimes you're talking systems. You see goalie coach Mike Rosati hopping in the background there as it pans over to Pete DeBoer here. So, you know, for guys hanging out on the ice like this to get ready, that stretching aspect is usually secondary. You've done all your things off the ice to be ready to practice. What you're doing out there is more just habit and rhythm than it is getting ready to play.
Here in Studio 31, Darren Millard along with Mike McKenna, Pete DeBoer, getting ready for this Friday practice at City National Arena with Marc-Andre Fleury on the ice. Two goaltenders in this group will be Robin Leonard and the veteran Flower. Oscar Dansk also here. Logan Thompson joining the group. He signed with the organization in the last few days. Not eligible for Phase 4, but is here to get some experience himself. He's been part of the development camp. So now there's 4 goaltenders taking part in Phase 3 for the Vegas Golden Knights. But the whistle goes for Pete DeBoer to get the formal part of this camp underway. What you've been able to assess on this Phase 3 process?
Well, it's been really nice to see the team get right into scrimmaging, you know, and I think the product of that too is that, hey, most of the Vegas Golden Knights stuck around in Vegas. They were all here during the Phase 2 process. So having a leg up on the competition, having that chance to run captain's practices, even in small groups, it let that cohesiveness stay together as a team. So when you go towards Phase 3 setting here, it lets the Golden Knights jump right into scrimmage scenarios, jump right into system work to pick up back where they left off with head coach Pete DeBoer. And remember, you know, he came into this team more than halfway through the season, was implementing his system work, and you're seeing more of that now. They're really honing their craft and what they want. You see assistant coach Ryan Craig right now diagramming the first drill that they'll be doing today. But I've really been encouraged by seeing some of the defensive work they've done in the game-like situations. The quicker you can get into that, the better. You know, anybody can go out there and snap it around, run through drills, just try to get your feet underneath you. That's what a lot of the other teams are doing right now. For the Golden Knights, they're getting ready to play. It's going to come up really quick, and the more chance they have to dial in on how they want to play as a team with structure, it's going to be beneficial, and they're seeing the benefits of having that Phase 2 together.
Glad to have you with us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Felipe and Santiago Chile watching us via Facebook today, so that's outstanding as people VGK worldwide take in these live streams as the Vegas Golden Knights get ready for the return to play. Less than a week, they'll be off to Edmonton and the Hub City getting set for the exhibition game against the Arizona Coyotes. It's just shocking how quickly it happened.
It does, especially thinking that it's been 4 months since we've seen live hockey, but it's like this, you know, you get back into Phase 2 and you're just wondering when's this going to happen, and now suddenly it's Phase 3. It's go time. A week goes by so quickly in training camp. When you're going through practice, you know, you get your first couple hard days, you get your lungs going. The next thing you know, it feels like it's game time. You know, and you don't have that ability to rest any longer and to take things easy like Phase 2. Right now is really like training camp again, but in such a different fashion, right?
Well, you bring up rest, and that's interesting because Pete DeBoer did give the group yesterday off after the first 3 days, and maybe the sports fan is wondering, you've had 4 months without coaches. Why would you take a day off 4 days into training camp? But there's a real method to this.
Yeah, there's a lot of power in rest, and it's not just your physical, it's your mental aspect too. You can get a lot done in a little bit of time on the ice, and when you know that you've got a runway leading up to those games, you can plan your rest. You can tell your guys that, hey, we're going to give you this day off. Don't go out and blow it. Take that day, get some rest, go home. If you need to heal anything, that's fine. Thankfully everybody's healthy right now, so that's not as much as during the regular season, as you see. But you want to build these breaks in on purpose, knowing that
slow
give them the time.
Progress, right?
It is. You're building up to that. So you get towards the end of this, they're going to be ramping exactly the way they want to in terms of intensity. You don't want them to go out right away and crush each other on the ice during practice. But it is taxing, right? Like those first 3 days of training camp, it's hockey again. It's not just flow drills. There's contact, there's hard starts and stops. Those bodies are going to be sore. They haven't had that sense of actual hockey action, and getting the body a chance to just rest up a little bit and come back fresh is powerful.
Want to say hello to Schwerbear1 watching on Twitch from South Korea, and Chipper on YouTube asking, is that Mike McKenna?
It is me. I know I look a little bit different right now. We had a quick cameo. The hair's grown for 4 months and got a haircut scheduled on Tuesday. But, hey, I'm back, man. It feels great to be here and just so excited. You go without hockey, and with the pause happening, kind of felt lost for a little bit, all of us, and to be back in the Studio 31 here, sitting with you, Darren, feels like home again.
Taking in the practice on this Friday morning in Summerlin, Las Vegas, Nevada. Vegas Golden Knights going through their fourth workout, fifth day of Phase 3 in Training Camp 2.0. You have a question, you have a comment, something you're wondering as we go through this lead up to the return to play, let us know via your social channel of choice, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, take your choice. Twitch, send us a note, and we'll be happy to have a conversation with you. Marc-Andre Fleury stopping the rebounds. That's solid work. It's great watching him on the ice.
It's so nice to see him back in action, isn't it? And just everybody in general. This is a classic drill that you'll run right off the bat. You get one shot down the wing. There's a rebound opportunity, so the goalie has to track it. The forwards have to get to the corner, establish net front positioning, get a shot from the point, maybe a tip. These types of drills are what you'll see early on in practices so often because they encapsulate so much of what you do. There's a big combination to everything going on.
We go through a practice in January, a morning skate in November, and the players are just trying to keep their feet moving and maintain. What's their focus, and how much different is it in Phase 3 leading up to the return to play?
To me, it's just the intensity level. Phase 2 is really just maintenance. You're making sure you stay sharp, that you don't lose your touch on the ice. When you get to Phase 3, you're ratcheting it up that next level. You're going that 10% harder. The goalies are battling for every puck like they would in a game. It's really just the speed in which things are happening and that sense of purpose. You've got a watchful eye over you, too. It's not just a captain's practice. You've got Ryan McGill over your shoulder barking at you to make sure you're doing things properly. You've got Pete DeBoer with his eye on everything, making sure it's run the way it should be, that everything's crisp. So intensity and just that focus and the precision and attention to detail.
I think it's up like 20%, 30% over a regular practice?
Compared to a captain's practice that we would have seen in Phase 2, it's definitely an easy 20%. During the season, though, it starts to all be rhythm and habit, and you fall into that stretch where you practice the same way almost every day. But you can sense it among the guys when you hear them talk in their interviews. They're just so excited to get to play that it just gives you that little bit of extra juice without even thinking about it sometimes.
Who are you looking forward to watching today that you get to be in the building and watch in person?
Well, I'm really excited to see how the third and fourth lines have been built out. Having Alex Tuck with Nick Waugh and Chandler Stevenson on that third line, if they're together today, that's something that I've been keeping an eye on. I think that's a really dynamic combination. And then seeing Nick Cousins, how he's been working so far with William Carrier and Ryan Reeves. Those are two lines that we hadn't seen in the regular season that to me play a huge role down the stretch for the club. When you talk to players around the NHL and you ask them about the Golden Knights and how do you counter the Golden Knights, it's amazing that almost everybody says Ryan Reeves. You have to not let Ryan Reeves do his thing, and by some standards, this is a fourth-line player, but it shows you how important that depth is to the team and their ability to gain momentum for the club. It's half the reason why Pete DeBoer would put them out that line with Wood, Carrier, and Reeves to start periods. So Seeing how those three.
I think Nick Cousins is going to affect that unit.
Oh man, and like think about Nick Cousins. This is a player who not only is a gifted offensive player. He's a 40-point player and 35, 40-point player in the league if he's up on a second line, but he can play any role if he's on the third and fourth. That snarl to his game and his ability to get under the skin of the opponents
in your ear.
And you think he's going to have much of a leash when he's got Ryan Reeves over his shoulder? He's not going to have any leash. He can do whatever he wants. So that's exciting to me. I love to see players that play chippy like that and add an extra dynamic to the game. And that's exactly what Cousins has done for this club.
More reaction on Twitter. Thanks to Steve for sending us this note. That sudden gust of wind in Summerlin was Vegas-born fans finding out that Fleury returned to practice today. He's not far off there.
It was a collective exhale, I suppose, there, right? And that's, it's something that we're going to have to keep in mind and live with in Phase 3 and when we get to the hub cities, that injuries, maladies, anything, they aren't going to be disclosed, So we just have to live with the fact that if somebody's out of the lineup, you can't read into it. Speculation's not going to do you any good. You just have to accept the fact that somebody's not skating for whatever reason that may be. But to see him out there today, he's moving great. He's tracking rebounds, making combination saves. Looks good to me. Happy to see him out there.
Going through this workout, we'll let you eavesdrop for a couple of minutes here as Pete DeBoer gathers the troops and will explain to his players a drill. So take in what he's going to diagram and then watch the drill as the players come out and just be part of practice here at City National Arena. The Vegas Golden Knights, Day 5 of Phase 3 Training Camp 2.0. by the Next Gen Chem. You're watching the workout by the Vegas Golden Knights on the Summerlin Hospital rink at City National Arena. There's also a group working out on the Star Nursery rink, and then if things come together the way they did the first 3 days, we'll see a combination of the groups after a flood. But this looks like they've tweaked the groups a little bit from the initial part of training camp, that this is more the NHL club that you'll see taking the ice. We want to thank everybody watching on the various channels, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Toby in Oslo, Norway. Susie in Lake Tahoe. Hope everything's nice and cool up there. Dinas in Facebook in Lithuania. And Tanya up in Nova Scotia watching tonight. And one more, Diane in Cape Town, South Africa. Thanks for joining us today. This morning where we are, afternoon and evening where you are.
It makes me wonder if it's Dinas Zubras from Lithuania, former teammate of mine with the Devils there. Boy, what a horse he was, incredible player. You touched on here, though, the grouping right now looks like it is more so of the actual game lineup for the Golden Knights. And what they've been going through is something of a morning skate style practice so far. These drills have been typical to what you would see on a normal game day. So without having any inside knowledge as to what may come next in this practice, I do wonder if maybe they move into more of an expanded morning skate type practice and maybe even to some scrimmage because you've seen most of the big lines out here together.
My favorite part, was it Nick Cousins that on the dump-in drill put it over the glass off the screen?
I believe so, because it was the centerman carrying the puck. It would have been Cousins. He came right
great.
in, crosses the blue line, goes to dump the puck on the glass, and it's 3 feet over into the netting, and you could see his head snap back right away. Oh, I've wrecked the drill. I can't believe I did it.
Thanks to Katie on Facebook, who checked in with us and wanted to know if she missed the stream yesterday. No, it was a day off for the Vegas Golden Knights. The training camp bulletin will be here on the Vegas Golden Knights social channels, streaming on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, every day that they are on the ice. If you don't see us, they're not skating, but just check in on the channels and we'll make sure that you're up to date when they're going to be skating. Jason says, do you think the Knights will try and sign Leonard?
That's an interesting question. I mean, you're looking at a goaltender who he's a Vezina finalist. He's a #1 goaltender in the NHL. I think any team would love to sign Leonard if they can fit him under the salary cap. That's obviously something going forward with it not moving upward any longer. Teams are going to have to make decisions on those player personnel. If you could have Robin Lehner and Marc-Andre Fleury as a tandem, I think you'd take that if you could. So, without me sitting in a GM's chair, which of course I'm not, I'd have to think that if they could find a way for the Golden Knights to have Robin Lehner back, I'm sure those conversations may take place. But, as Kelly McCrimmon talked about yesterday, it's kind of a new world going forward where teams are all going to have to make decisions with the salary cap, and you're going to try to make the best decision possible. He said yesterday that, hey, if you're not up against the cap, you're not utilizing your dollars to the best possible. It's a perishable inventory, he said, which was just a great line, thinking about it, that, there's an expiration date. You've got to make sure you play up to have dollars up to the cap.
And that is so different than when the salary cap was first put in place in the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
How it's looked at.
Oh, I remember when the salary cap first came in, it was a question of whether we'll be there or not. And teams were even worried about making the floor in some instances. And now you've got to be against the cap if you want to be competitive. Think about the teams that have won the Stanley Cup. How many teams in the past 5, 6, 10, even since it came into existence with the hard cap system, they've all been up against the cap. If you want to win, that's where you need to be.
And even if you don't spend it, you can take on other teams' contracts and absorb it and turn that into assets.
Right. And another part of what Kelly McCrimmon said yesterday that I found to be just so true and so fascinating about the cap world we live in is bringing the American Hockey League team to Henderson and being able to maximize the cap that way. Remember last year when Nick Law was being shuttled back and forth, a lot of that was for cap reasons. It was to save those dollars towards the end of the year so that the Golden Knights could acquire Nick Cousins, Alec Martinez, Robin Lehner, have that space to do so. You have that advantage. You can run a leaner roster in season when you have that affiliate so close. It's all big picture stuff. It's all the reason why the Golden Knights have brought that team closer so they can maximize it in a lot of ways.
You're watching the Next Gen Cam, Summerlin Hospital rink here at City National Arena. The Vegas Golden Knights going through their workout on this Friday. Day 5 of Phase 3, fourth workout for the Golden Knights under the tutelage of Pete DeBoer and his coaching staff. Marc-Andre Fleury is back on the ice, and his glove hand is just fine. as we've witnessed a couple of times during this morning skate. Send us your questions, your comments, just like Kathy on Facebook, who says, just watching this makes the craziness of the world go away for a bit.
Oh, does it ever? And it's something Robin Leonard talked about it extensively, how seeing hockey, seeing live sports is good for the mental health of everybody. It brings you back to having some normalcy, something to root for. And it's so difficult during a pause like this and during quarantine where people's lives have been thrown off so much. To get a distraction back, like hockey, like your favorite team, your sports, something to root for, something to see, it's big for everybody. You know, you need that ability to escape. And Robin so eloquently put it yesterday that it's just so important to the psyche, not just of America, but really worldwide, to have live sports, to have the things you've been used to as your creature comforts. And it's making us smile, and it's making the fans smile, and you see it, the players on the ice, they're smiling too.
Corinne on YouTube asks, any details for the broadcast info? Well, I can tell you that we're waiting to confirm, and we hope to have those details for you in as soon as possible, really, but they are finalizing these as the hours go by, and we're really hopeful to have the idea of what we're going to be able to present for the exhibition game against the Arizona Coyotes that the Vegas Golden Knights will play on that final day of the exhibition schedule, and then into the round robin. And the games against the Dallas Stars start off on the Monday, and then the Thursday against the St. Louis Blues, and finish it off Saturday against the Colorado Avalanche. So we're hopeful that we'll have those details for you, but we're very much looking forward to all the action. Shane Natty, Dave Gosher, Stormy Bundertoni, Gary Lawless on the TV side, Mike and I on the pregame show and the postgame show, the intermissions, and Dan Duva on the radio side.
I'm just so excited to do playoff hockey, for the first time. I mean, Darren, this is old hat for you covering it, and for myself now to be able to watch the Golden Knights, who've put together
very
such
different
a good team.
for all of us that have been around. Just like the players, nobody's really been through this process before.
No.
Where you're going to be, Shane and Dave are going to be in the studio, actually, calling it off of either this monitor here or we'll bring in another monitor, but they'll be calling the game from here, the game's in Edmonton, so that'll be a different challenge that you haven't done before, and we're going to be in Mackenzie River hosting our pre- and post-game shows, so it's just going to be a little bit different.
Right, and the exciting factor of it, though, is think about how immersed we're going to be in hockey. We've gone from 0 to 60 here, 0 to 100, it feels like. We're going to have 3 games a day, 6 games a day, and the opportunity to watch hockey from noon until 9 o'clock at night. And our job as broadcasters is to stay on top of that too, So we're going to get all the hockey we can imagine. And those new challenges are just fun, though, for us to do something different, especially me kind of walking into this. Everything's still kind of new in some ways, but going over to Mackenzie River, potentially, being in a building where it's another new spot for us, but it could be really interesting and fun.
And for those that aren't familiar with the surroundings here at City National Arena, there's the Summerlin Hospital rink, and then there's the Star Nursery rink, and in between is the Mackenzie River Restaurant.
Right.
And that's where we're going to be. And this studio is just outside of the Summerlin Hospital rink. Sean, watching on Facebook, at his desk, hopes that his boss doesn't see. Earphones, earbuds, wireless earbuds are really the key on that one. But Sean, I'm going to give you the most important tip here. Only wear one earbud. And that way anybody walking by doesn't see that, and you're really immersed, and you can hear when the boss is coming or when somebody's coming down the hall. Rush on YouTube, is Vancouver a sleeper?
Yeah, especially if they're healthy, which they are. When you think about Hughes
facing the Minnesota Wild in their best of 5.
Right, and you think about Pettersson, Hughes, and Markstrom. Jacob Markstrom's healthy. If he hadn't been injured, potentially a Vezina candidate finalist. He's been absolutely outstanding for that club. Brock Besser. To me, the Vancouver Canucks, they were up and down this season, which signifies that if they get it together and have a really hot start, if they can gain that momentum off the bat, the young players on that team that have really carried that club. Don't forget they've got JB going the lineup, who's won
added Tanner Pearson.
Well. And yeah, for sure. So, that's a team to me that if they get hot right away, could make waves. I don't know if it's sustainable for Vancouver, but I could see that team getting a couple rounds deep in this, though, and all of a sudden thinking as a club, hey, we got a shot, we can do this. And it's true for everybody, but really with the skill level and the hungriness of that team, there's opportunity there.
Cool Down Show is coming up after this training camp bulletin when the Vegas Golden Knights are done with their workout, and Shane Knighty, Gary Lawless will be part of that show. Jack Dugan is going to hop on with us, a conversation with him. You got to watch Jack playing for Providence at the Fortress Invitational over the holidays and Christmas holidays and the New Year. He signs his first professional contract, a 2-year deal.
Yeah, it's a good deal for Jack Dugan, obviously, coming out of school. He had agreed to this before we really went into the depths of the pause, too. So we knew Jack Dugan was going to be coming out. He's ready. And Kelly McCrimmon said it yesterday that he thought he was ready a year ago to come out. Dugan thought he had unfinished business at Providence College. He went back. What did he do? Led the NCAA in scoring. Not bad. 52 points in a season. He's got really great offensive instincts. His size is there. He's got a good skating ability. He plays with his body too, which it is a different game, as you know, Darren. The college game with the face mask in front of you lets you run a little wild at times on the ice and be somewhat reckless, So it remains to be seen how he'll bring that side of his game to the National Hockey League, to the pro game. But when you think about his offensive instincts, 42 assists in the NCAA. This is a premier playmaker, arguably the best playmaker in all of college hockey.
He's transitioned a bit in that because he used to be more of a goal scorer and now somewhat of a setup guy.
Yeah, so you find your role with everything, but he's continually stepped up to challenges in his career and dominated them. Prep school, best player there. Goes to the USHL for a season. And he's third in the league in scoring, against players that have been in the league for 2-3 years. Continues that on to Providence College. And Kelly McCrimmon thought that, hey, this is a guy who probably could have or should have been drafted higher. And it was really a credit to their staff to uncover him and get them when they did in the draft. And I love about Darren, he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's still out to prove people that, hey, I can be this player, I can play in the NHL, and I can make a difference, and I love that.
And lots of confidence too, and you can't teach that. That he just knows he has ability, and I like the way he handles himself on the ice with that ability. As we eavesdrop on practice here at Summerlin Hospital Rink on this Friday, day 5 of Phase 3 for the Vegas Golden Knights, the drills that we're watching right now, throwing the puck in the corner and then going down the ice, just give us an idea of what they're working on here.
So part of this is zone exits, part of this is just rhythm and habit. These are very typical drills they'll do. But one of the hallmarks of Pete DeBoer when he came in was that he wanted the team to exit the zone better. Get the puck to the corner, get the D to go, get the D to get their feet going up ice. Now what you're seeing now, you'll see a battle in the corner here. You've got 5 guys in there at a time, and once the puck gets moved out, it's going to go the other direction. So for Pete DeBoer, he wants to get the puck out of the zone as quick as possible on the D stick if they can with their feet moving. Why? Because if they get through the neutral zone with some speed, the D can join the rush, make the Golden Knights that much quicker through the neutral zone, attack the net off the rush, and gain entry and gain possession in the offensive zone. So these drills just all kind of feed into that style. And again, it's also part rhythm too. You're getting back into that habit of doing your daily routine of drills where you're always exiting, and it's so important in today's game when you think about the way the teams have to play with speed, attack the middle of the ice. It all starts in the defensive zone.
Marc-Andre Fleury going through his first workout with the Vegas Golden Knights during Phase 3. Did not participate in skates Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and there was a lot of questions to Pete DeBoer and Kelly McCrimmon every time they were available. What's the update? And they promised he would skate by the end of the week, and he has been on the ice today and looked very sharp as we go through these flow drills and game simulation drills. We saw the battle in the corner. What's the line there, and how fine do you have to walk it for players that do play that physical style? Shooters can shoot, goalies can work on their game, but the physical part, you can't. How do you dive into that?
Well, I'll tell you what you don't want to be. You don't want to be the guy that hurts your teammate, But you also don't want to be the guy who got hurt by your teammate. So there is a fine line.
But you got to be ready when that exhibition game comes or the round robin starts.
That's right.
To have your body engaged.
Hockey shape, hockey bumps, hockey physicality. That can differentiate a team that's ready to play from others that aren't, the ones that have been engaged in doing so. These types of situations, players are really mindful of where they put their stick. In practice especially, they're very mindful of where their elbows are at all times. In games, you're not as mindful of that. Not to say that you want to go out and take a tripping penalty or an elbowing penalty, but you're not as afraid to rub a little bit harder on somebody. So in practice, yes, there's contact, it's physical, but the positioning of it is really the most important aspect without really trying to pin somebody into the extent that you may potentially just get yourself in a situation where somebody could end up with an injury.
Practice continues under the watchful eye of Pete DeBoer. While we have you here, Mike, it's a great timing because the Vezina Trophy finalists were announced today. And they are Connor Hellebuck of the Winnipeg Jets, Andrei Vasilevsky from the Tampa Bay Lightning, and the Boston Bruins' Tuukka Rask. Rask is a former Vezina Trophy winner, 13-14. Vasilevsky won last year, and Connor Hellebuck was a finalist a couple of years ago. Surprised here, or what you would expect?
Well, I'm not surprised that all three of these goaltenders are included. They're all worthy of it for different reasons. And the obvious one is that they've all carried their team to fantastic records. And, you know, kind of the outlier of that is Hellebuck. The Winnipeg Jets are they're not one of the top 4 teams in their conference, but he's been a huge reason why the Winnipeg Jets are where they are. That's a team that was decimated on the blue line this year. You know, they were playing really, really lean for a long time. You talk to their coaching staff, and they will tell you that Connor Hellebuck just carried the club. And it's not just that his obvious numbers are so good. It's his underlying numbers, those things that we call goals saved above average, and you're making saves from high danger areas. All those metrics are in the right direction for Hellebuck. Same way with Rask. And Vasilevsky, his win totals, fantastic. Vasilevsky surprises me a little from my perspective just because he didn't have a great start to the season. Absolutely came on strong. His win totals are through the roof. But by the metrics that I look at, you know, for a Vezina finalist, for a Vezina winner, they have to be good through the whole season, you know, and that's why he's a bit of a surprise.
Finalist third straight year, too.
Yeah, and you know, he's without question one of the top goaltenders in the league. You know, when you're looking at it, how do you differentiate to find a winner? There's always been a hesitancy to give it to a goaltender on a team that's down the pecking order like Hellebuck. And
that guy right there was a Vezina finalist a year ago.
Yeah, Robin Lehner had a great season for the Islanders, and he's somebody who's certainly capable of doing that again. But it comes down to a full season's worth of work, you know. For Robin Lehner with the Islanders, part of the knock why he wouldn't have potentially won the Vezina is because he didn't play all the games. He was in something of a rotation with Thomas Greiss there as well. And boy, his pads look phenomenal, don't they? But yeah, I think it's an interesting
44 minutes. That's way longer than I thought it would take you to get to the new pads.
Did you have an over/under going on this one, Darren?
Yeah, it was about 7. But you know what? To be fair, Marc-Andre Fleury's first appearance at camp kind of took us down that path, deservedly so. So they're going to get into a scrimmage. Ryan Craig dropping the puck here. Yep. And Robin Lehner and Marc-Andre Fleury at opposite ends, as you kind of get the sense that this is where things turn and get a lot more focused. More of the main group on the ice today on the Summerlin Hospital rink as well.
Well, this is playing out kind of how I expected it to. It was, again, very similar to morning skate, the same type of drills, and now right into the scrimmage. And as you alluded to, Darren, you are seeing really the game grouping here. Nick Hague's on the ice. I believe I saw Coughlin out there as well. So you do have some of the depth out there to fill out these two teams that are against one another. But this is the nuts and bolts of getting ready to play hockey. You need to have your players engaged in scrimmage situations just so you can work out those kinks that you haven't been able to have the past 4 months. And just seeing these lines go out. It'll be interesting here if they blow the play or if they just let them go. You know, sometimes these are controlled scrimmages where they'll change at the whistle rather than on the fly. It looks like they're going to let them play here, though.
I want to see who calls the offside.
Well, it's not going to happen like Toronto anymore.
Gustani right? On Twitch, say hello from Maryland. Yes, we give you a big shout out in Maryland. Hope you're safe and healthy. Okotoks, Alberta. It's Wayne watching on Facebook and Shelby in Saskatchewan. Hello to you. Discussion on YouTube about which goalie is better for a specific game. Flexibility of having both Fleury and Lehner. And I think the approach there is whether you're thinking about a hard thrower versus a soft thrower in baseball or a lefty-righty, that kind of thing.
Right. You're trying to find matchups that may potentially work. I don't look into this style of goaltender as much as I do their success versus a team. You know, you can try to overanalyze these things as much as you can and try to think that, hey, this guy may be better because he's a more stationary goaltender versus a more explosive lateral goaltender. Maybe that matches up better against the team. I think you have to take the metrics involved of how they've done over the course of their career, over the course of this season, and who that they're going to match up against. So it's an interesting thing, and I'm sure it's something that the coaching staff does take into account. But ultimately, there's other things I think you can look at deeper that are going to give you a better clue as to how a goaltender may perform, just beyond their actual style that they have.
Scrimmage underway in the Summerlin Hospital rink. Great to have you back, Mike. Happy that you're safe and the family's doing great in St. Louis, but really pleased to have you as part of our group here in Studio 31, and looking forward to covering the playoffs with you. We will give Mike a rest, and Gary Lawless will come in. In the meantime, enjoy the sights and the sounds as you observe scrimmage action by the Next Gen Cam here in the Vegas Golden Knights training camp during Phase 3 at the Summerlin Hospital rink at City National Arena. Hope you're enjoying the Next Gen Cam live look-in at a scrimmage with Vegas Golden Knights on Day 5 of Training Camp 2.0 and Phase 3 of the NHL's return to play process. Working our way towards Edmonton for the Western Conference, the hub city. Vegas will be there in less than a week. It's happening fast, and one of the players that you are excited to see on the ice today for the first time this week, Marc-Andre Fleury, as he rejoins the group, and Gary Lawless steps into Studio 31 here at City National Arena. Mike McKenna was great off the bat, but like the players who skated 3 days and then took a day off, we want to manage his workload. So we appreciate you stepping in and giving him a little bit of a rest.
Well, I'm glad to be able to be Mike's relief pitcher. That's why I went to
the closer.
That's why I went to journalism school, folks. It's my career aspiration. Well, it's why I came to Vegas.
That's not what I had in mind when I set that up. It was more about managing Mike's workload. Send in your questions, your comments to us on your social media channels. We'll do the best to get some answers. We've had some really cool inquiries today. We also want to remind you that the cool down show is coming up in a couple of minutes as we switch after practice, and Shane Natty will join us there, as well as Jack Dugan, who signed his first professional contract yesterday. He will join us, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But as the VGK Insider here on Friday, 5 days into Phase 3, some observations.
Well, I think, right off the bat, I've been really impressed with the execution and the pace of the Golden Knights all week long. They look like a team who has been on the ice together for a long time, and that's because they have. And that kind of leads into the other thing that, sort of the overarching sort of perspective I've had of this, of their return to play process, and that has been their commitment as a group. And right from the very beginning, if you go back to the middle of March when this season was put on pause, the Golden Knights, they did it different than a lot of teams. A lot of teams spread out all over the globe. They stayed together. Obviously, they social distanced, but they all stayed in Vegas. And obviously, the fact that April and March, April and May in Las Vegas it's one of the best places on the planet climate-wise, so it was easy to stay here. But they all did, and then when we got into Phase 2 and they were allowed to skate together, right away, it has been full bore, full commitment from the whole group. And I think that speaks to their maturity as a group, the fact that they're in this to win, that they believe that they have a team. They didn't want to waste this. This is an opportunity for them to win a Stanley Cup, and they wanted to take full advantage of that, and it's really shown this week in how they've returned to play.
There's a flood taking place right now, and then we'll get you back on the ice for the resumption of this workout as the teams will return. There's two groups working out, as has been the case for the first 3 days of training camp. Summerlin Hospital Rink was the main group today. Much more of your National Hockey League look to that lineup, and then the Star Nursery Rink where Oscar Danska and the other group were working out. So we'll get both groups together and more of a scrimmage that. So stay with us on that front. I understand the concern and the anxiety from the fans not seeing Marc-Andre Fleury for the first 3 days because they weren't able to see him skate at all during Phase 2 when he was on the ice every day that it was available. But with him returning today, certainly does alleviate a lot of angst.
Yeah, but I would sort of, that angst has been built up over the history of the Golden Knights. This is a different group because of Robin Lehner. And even myself, at first I thought, wow, Fleury, because you're so used to, if Marc-Andre Fleury wasn't healthy and wasn't able to play, you didn't really think they had a chance. And now with Robin Lehner, you do. Robin Lehner has been lights out for this entire camp, and I would expect that he will be, once we get into games, he'll get action and he'll be very solid. This is not 1 and B anymore. This is 1 and 1A, and that makes this team a lot more dangerous because, let's face it, goalies can get hurt, goalies can get into funks, and the fact that you have two really elite options makes you different than a lot of other teams. So I understand the angst, but I also think we have to realize as an organization and as a fan base that there's two guys now, and Robin Lehner is listen. He doesn't have the Stanley Cup pedigree that Marc-Andre Fleury does, but he's been an award winner the last couple of years, and as you look at his save percentage and the way he played when he got here, this is a very capable goalie.
Vezina Trophy finalist a year ago, Connor Hellebuck, Andrei Vasilevsky, and Tuukka Rask, the three Vezina finalists for 2019 and 20. You've been around a lot of training camps. This one is a little bit different. How have you observed it?
It is different, and it isn't because it's different because of the timing. But, and you can relate this to, everyone can relate this to their own lives. It's kind of counterintuitive that when you go away for a break, that you come back and there are certain players that are better. They got better away from hockey. And two guys for me in that category are Nick Waugh and Zach Whitecloud. I think that they have returned with added confidence. I think that maybe they were able to get completely healthy, and maybe even because they're such young men still, maybe add a little strength or work on certain parts of their game that they realized once they were in the NHL, okay, I need to be a little bit better at this. They've come back, and to me, they look like they're going to be bigger forces within the Golden Knights. And what does that do? We had this discussion last night. All of a sudden, that third line that Vegas has with Chandler Stevenson, Nick Waugh, and Alex Tuck, they look to me like that they're going to be an edge. They're going to be an advantage for Vegas. You go around the National Hockey League or the 24 teams that are left, that third line, they're going to be able to, Pete DeBoer is going to be able to give them ice. He's going to be able to match them a little bit in certain situations and get an edge. They're going to be better. They're going to be bigger, faster, more physical, and have the opportunity to like Alex Tuck and Chandler Stevenson, when they're going right, can really add offense. This line to me is an X factor.
Players trickling back on the ice as the Zambonis continue to resurface the frozen floor of the City National Arena.
Were you
and Summerlin Hospital Rink.
Were you a get on during the Zamboni kind of guy?
I was. You know what? I'm glad you brought that up because it sort of opens the door here. There's a lot of people watching right now, men's leaguers, rec leaguers, minor hockey players, who are sitting there going, I do that. I get yelled at. Like, nobody gets to do that because of safety concerns. These guys have been through it.
These guys don't have to wear helmets and warm up either.
I've always been amazed at how many hockey players at the National Hockey League level have never driven one of those machines.
Yeah,
with no
enough.
clue. Will Carrier did it at one point this season for a nightlife report. Psychologically, you brought up Nick Waugh and Zach Whitecloud. They go away, but they come back, and I wonder in their minds, whether it's conscious or not, they're part of the group. Whereas
100%.
before they were sort of earning their stripes, but now they come back and they're part of that.
Well, I would add Alec Martinez, Nick Cousins, and Robin Lehner to that group because for Golden Knights fans, I'll relate it to Max Pacioretty. Max got traded at the very end of training camp, and then kind of that whole first year here was an adjustment for him and getting used to his surroundings and the people, et cetera, et cetera. Well, these guys, it's like it's their second season. And Max's second season with Vegas was fantastic. And it's kind of very similar, I think, for these guys. They went away, and now they come back, and they're part of the group. They're more insulated. There's no, hey, who's the equipment guy? Which media guy do I have to be worried about, et cetera, et cetera. They're just bang.
Wait, they worry about media?
Well, in-house media in particular,
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
Yes, hosts from Brandon, Manitoba. I think that it's just familiarity, I think, is and put Pete DeBoer and Steve Spott into that grouping as well. Even Mike Rosati, who joined the club sort of on a full-time basis later last season. I just a little more comfortability and familiarity with your surroundings, and also a real understanding. I think if you're one of those guys, and when the break started and you were kind of wondering what what your team was going to be like during one of these situations, you quickly found out there would have been Zoom calls and text chains, et cetera, and these guys would have been encouraging one another. Hey, let's be better than everybody else when we get back. And I can't wait to find out if they get rewarded for their commitment. And listen, we weren't around the other 23 teams. Maybe they've all been committed like this. I'm not sure if that's the case.
I think Robin Lehner, for sure, has certainly bonded more with his teammates during the phase 2 portion, just being around guys a little bit more, and it's really helped him. I want to show you the lines, if we can, as the players trickle back onto the ice in full complement. They've got numbers and names on their sweaters, so we're going to see a scrimmage.
Just when we're waiting for the lines, you did mention the other day that Robin Lehner was really, you were able to hear him on the ice and was really talking a lot during the play. So he's barking at his defensemen and his forwards, giving them instructions and letting them know when they're coming back towards him, he's being their eyes. But the fact that he's comfortable and talking like that really underscores your point that he is more comfortable.
And knows the guys a little bit more, just more comfortable within the group, and that's going to lead to more communication and better play, should be, on the ice, because it's different when a goaltender's traded at the deadline. It doesn't happen a lot. Sometimes for depth, but very rarely that you're acquiring a goaltender at the deadline to really step in and be able to handle a workload. So this pause on the Lehner and the Golden Knights side of things has helped out and allowed for a little bit of breathing room there. Ryan Reeves on the ice. He's had some fun, had been enjoying himself during the course of these scrimmages and laughing and joking. We'll get Ryan Craig's been serving as the official during this phase of the camp. Do we have the lines? And we'll throw those up and take a look at just what Pete DeBoer and his coaching staff has done and been able to put together. And this is the same Carlson, Stone, Pacioretty line. We have Paul Stasny with Marchessault and Riley Smith. And the fourth line and the third line are two areas that they've tweaked a little bit.
Yeah, well, they've gone with Chandler Stevenson and Nick Waugh. They've kind of flip-flopped in the middle of that third line. Alex Tuck is the other winger on that line, and then the fourth line, Cousins in between Reeves and Carrier. And it's interesting, we mentioned Alex Tuck. He's had kind of a miserable season as a result of injury. Every time it seemed like he was going again, he'd pick something else up. But he can erase all of that. He can come back right now and get going in the playoffs, and the regular season becomes forgotten. And this is going to be prime time. And I think Alex Tuck likes the spotlight, and the fact that all of these games, you're going to be able to watch them all over North America, all over the world. And it's going to be like March Madness, where there's, certain days there could be as many as 6 games on, 3 in the East and 3 in the West, or maybe they max out at 5. But it's going to be all hockey all the time. I think a guy like Alex Tuck, this is a real opportunity for him to put his imprint on this event, wash away what was a disappointing season, and maybe have a fantastic, I was about to say spring, it's not spring, have a fantastic Stanley Cup tournament.
Whether you want to call it jump or just a little bit of electricity, he's looked really involved this week.
Well, I think that he's healthy, and I think when you're in and out of the lineup, and especially when you're a young player and you're not contributing, you probably that probably affects your psyche quite a bit. Well, now it's clean slate. This is an opportunity to get out there. And I also think, he's probably very excited about who he's playing with, because, when Alex Tuck has played with better players, he's had good results. And then there have been times when he just hasn't had great line mates around him. Well, I don't think he should have any complaints here. Waugh can make plays, thinks the game very well, is going to take care of the defensive end of things. Stevenson has speed to keep up with Tuck and help create, and I just think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for Alex.
And 2 centermen on that line so they can take faceoffs on their strong side, which means you're starting with the puck more. very accomplished center iceman. The fourth line adds Nick Cousins, so you've got that element to the game. But yeah, I think you could be primed for a real noticeable stretch from Alex Tuch.
Nick Cousins, it's going to be so like if I go into a bar with you, I don't I don't talk very much. I keep quiet.
You're looking at your shoes.
Worried about But if I walk in with Shane, I'm much bigger. I'm allowed to be mouthy. So that's the same for Nick Cousins. All of a sudden, he doesn't have to. He can start whatever mess he wants. He doesn't have to clean it up. There's somebody else. I don't know if you read or listened to Keith Jones talking about playing with Craig Berube during his career, and he said, he was reckless when he played with Craig because whatever he said, whatever he started, he knew he did not have to finish it. And Nick Cousins will have that luxury. And I think that's a big bonus for him and for the Golden Knights because he will be able to get under the skin of the opposition.
Workout continuing on Rink A, the Summerlin Hospital rink here at City National Arena. Both the groups have come together and they're working on some special teams practice. See Pacioretty in front of the net, and this is the number one power play unit just going through some of their systems work. Marc-Andre Fleury at one end, Robin Lehner at the other. Haven't really dove too much. Just your reaction when you first heard that Fleury was back in the ice.
Yeah, well, Pete DeBoer was so aggressive in addressing that earlier in the week. It just sort of signaled to me that this wasn't a big issue and that, obviously they want Marc-Andre Fleury to be 100% when the real game started. And we've watched him practice so much in phase 2 where, he was really involved and having a lot of fun. Again, because of Leonard, it's not as big an issue as it once was with this organization. They have two answers. So glad to see Flower back, but I wasn't really panicked.
Hockey in the Desert, Desert 29 on Twitch, watching in Henderson. Can't wait for the Silver Knights hockey next season, and we have with 30-plus players taking part here. Peyton Krebs, Gage Quinney, Reed Duke, Keegan Colasar, all on the ice as well. So plenty of players that could be filling in that Henderson Silver Knights complement. So that's a cool thing. Oscar Dansk in the goal at the other end, not Marc-Andre Fleury. So just want to clarify that. But
you mentioned the Henderson Silver Knights. They'll have a new coach. We learned yesterday that Rocky Thompson is moving on from the Golden Knights organization. So it'll be interesting to see what Kelly McCrimmon comes up with in terms of a new coach for the American Hockey League affiliate.
Touch on that a little bit more during the cool down,
Yep.
if you want. Steve Spott dropping the puck here during this workout. Shane Nowdy also standing by. The cool down coming up as we will chat with Jack Dugan, a newly signed prospect with the Vegas Golden Knights coming out of Providence College following his sophomore season. So we look forward to that conversation, what he expects, where he expects to slot in, and the top end of his game as a professional hockey player, what he sees himself as the Golden Knights continue with this special teams practice here in the Summerlin Hospital rink. Let you listen a couple of minutes, and then we'll transition into the cool down. players and coaches back on the ice at City National Arena. We have some points of interest from this skate to pass your way, along with a couple of significant developments off the ice in the world of the Vegas Golden Knights as you watch the cool down from Studio 31 overlooking practice and some special teams work on the ice by the Vegas Golden Knights. Darren Millard along with Shane Natty. Contract signing, an organizational development regarding the coach of the Henderson Silver Knights, and the return of Marc-Andre Fleury. Shane Natty.
Well, and maybe a little bit of panic from some fans, but when you look at it, this is a different training camp. We're still 13 days away from an exhibition game, so where guys may try to push it, if there is any question whatsoever a guy is not at 100%, this is the time you don't need to be out there. And it's going to happen. You may see different guys at different times. They have the luxury of a large window here to make sure they get themselves ready. And the goal of it is to get everybody ready at 100%. So Marc-Andre Fleury missed, back on the ice, great sign. He's been on the ice a ton, as we have seen in the past through these phases when they were allowed to get back. So a few days off, no big worry. He's back, and the way Marc-Andre Fleury plays, his athleticism, his ability to play, and he doesn't. If you watch him practice, he practices like he plays. You want a guy like that to have the ability to go. He's so competitive. He doesn't like to get scored on in a game, and just as much in a practice. So good to see him back out there, and I'm sure we'll see those acrobatic saves very, very soon. As they got a lot of time here to continue to prepare and get ready for not only the exhibition, but then the round robin.
I can confirm his glove hand's just fine after the session this morning.
He looks fine.
Jack Dugan signed a new contract, his first professional contract. He's going to join us in the cool down in just a little bit. But a couple of things just to observe and get your comment on, whether you want to call it tighten the screws or use your phrase, but more of the NHL roster on the Summerlin Hospital rink today, which is a bit of a change, a tweak from the first 3 days. You just get the sense that things are starting to ramp up. Well,
they will. They'll continue. I think we're going to see they're going to pick the days off. And Pete DeBoer talked about after the first day, he's really going to take the input from his players, from the leadership group about how they're feeling. They have those conversations every day. And if the guys feel, maybe they need a rest, maybe. But yes, it's going to be more of the type of lineup we're going to see in game one that's going to come ready to go. And that's what you want. You want to get these guys ready. You can see the joy in their faces. As a former guy, you want to play the game. It's so good to get back out with the guys. And you want to get to your lineup as quickly as you can. You want to maintain everybody else so they're ready, they're up to speed. But it's a signal that, you've got to ramp things up at this point, Darren. It's time to get ready, and they have a lot of time to do it. Look around the league, people are doing it differently. I know certain teams are just starting to scrimmage. We've seen the Golden Knights scrimmage today, as we've seen right now, doing some special team works, which is it's going to be crucial when it gets to that point. Special teams always a big factor when you get to playoffs. I wonder, though, this is one thing I've been thinking about. Not that I played a lot on the power play, but are we going to see better power plays? Because you're not going to hear the fans, how many times in a game in a home crowd, shoot. Will
the players know when to shoot?
Yes, exactly. Now, I think it'll be a little more relaxed when you're out there. Certainly, you want to be efficient. You want to score a goal in the power play, but maybe not as much of outside noise, negative outside noise for the special teams aspect.
How about when you call for the puck? If you're wide open, everybody else is going to be able to hear you call for the puck when you're wide open.
Guys will always tap, try and fool the opposition. They'll yell. It's if you know a guy's nickname, that's why you've got those blind passes are dangerous. There's Crosby, and there's certain guys that are really good at it. They just their vision's incredible, and it'll be different. A lot of areas when there's no outside noise, how the game and how the players will react will be interesting to watch.
We'll talk about this more as we go along, but your impression, Robin Leonard said the other day that maybe no fans will help some guys, some players, because you won't have that anxious feeling of the crowd all over and the wildness of the game. And on the flip side, it may take some others a while to get in because they feed off that so much. What would you have been? What umbrella would you have stood under?
Well, I'd like to think I'd be able to play. I think the competitive nature, the magnitude of the games, the importance of the situation you're in is more than momentum enough. You're playing for the Stanley Cup. It's one of those things that seems to be a popular question, and I've answered it, thinking these guys can get through, but we won't really know until they get in there. And I don't think as a player, you'll really know. It's going to be unique. It's going to be different for the first time. But I think they will adapt and they will adjust. And as I just mentioned, just because
Might be the most important thing about that exhibition game.
yeah, that's a good point. That's their first chance to experience it, to experience no fans in the building, and you want to try and learn as quickly as you can in these situations, and I think the players will. That's one of the things you have to do as a pro athlete is you have to learn and you have to be able to adapt, and they will. It's and maybe some players might like it, some won't, but regardless of that, you have no choice but to go out there and perform.
Would you have concern about your language if you were playing today?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
100%. There is no filter when you're on the ice. Well, yeah, you put me on, but it's not just me. That goes with the game, and and coaches for sure. The language that comes from there, I think it really takes you inside the game, and but it's reaction. Hey, you get hit hard by somebody, or you don't like something. There's usually a couple of words that come out that, and we'll see how. I'm interested to see how this works on air when they go inside. Like the sights and sounds of the game, I think is so intriguing from a fan perspective to watch that. But how do you kind of monitor it? I guess.
I'm going to have 2 or 3 little lines written down.
Well,
I
know in shows you have the guy who hits the button, the bleep button, but it'd be like a typewriter. He'd be like the busiest guy.
Closed captioning is going to be, we wanted the transcript from that. Let's go organizationally, big picture now. The team was off yesterday, did not skate. They got that first break in training camp, but the Vegas Golden Knights were very busy for announcing a couple of different things. So one of this is a high-profile transaction announcing the signing of Jack Dugan, the winger leaving Providence after his sophomore season, led the NCAA in scoring. He's a fifth-round draft choice, 2017, Vegas' first draft. But really, when you look at his accomplishments and his numbers, he should have been picked way sooner than the 5th round.
Oh, and it's another example of the Golden Knights organization, the hockey ops department, not only Kelly McCrimmon and George McPhee, but the amateur scouting staff that they put in the hours. And it's a difficult job not only to scout these players, but to anticipate the level they can get to. So you gotta look to the future and look at, well, where can this player get to? What's their ceiling? And that's what they analyze, all those things. And they get a 5th round guy, as you mentioned, and led the NCAA, not only in points, but in assists. Top 10 finalist for the Hobey Baker. This is a guy that, they're able to foresee that potential. And now he's done what he can at the collegiate level. Now it's a matter of turning pro, and that's the next step. Some guys quicker. And it's not like a guy coming out of junior where, you're 18, 19 years old. He's 22 years old, so physically more mature, maybe more ready to make the jump here into pro, whether that be with the Vegas Golden Knights, which is where his sights will be set, but also the Henderson Silver Knights playing right here in that organization. Such a great relationship to have your affiliate here in the same city. So, another exciting and what they've been able to do. Not only great team with the Golden Knights, but they continue to develop that program, which you need to be successful in any organization, is to grow that youthful prospects, and Jack Dugan, just another one.
It's our pleasure to welcome Jack Dugan to the Cool Down, joining us after signing his first professional contract yesterday. Out of the gate, where are you? How are you? And nice to see you.
I'm doing well. How are you? I'm at my home, my parents' house in Rochester, New York.
So you agreed to join the organization, and then we had to go through the return to play process and then the CBA. You knew you were going to turn pro, but didn't sign the pro contract until the last few hours. What was the emotion like, and was there still that emotion after you'd already kind of come to terms with leaving school?
Yeah. I kind of always knew I wanted to, by the end of this year, I wanted to sign with Vegas if that was an opportunity for me and it was presented by itself. So, that's what I wanted to do, and obviously when the pandemic happened, kind of threw a wrench into things, and we were kind of playing the waiting game for a little while, but ultimately I'm glad I was able to sign a contract and, hopefully start my pro career here pretty soon.
Well, Jack, when you look at your progression as a player, you continue to grow, a great season in Providence. What do you think the next steps for you in your career is as you turn pro? What are your expectations, and what do you think maybe the areas you want to learn the most from?
Yeah, I don't know if I have too many expectations going into this upcoming season. I know that I definitely want to get going and, like I said, start my pro career, whether it's if I'm able to make the big team or if I start out the Silver Knights, whatever it may be. I think that what I'm looking to improve on and continue to get better at is my defensive side of the game. Continue to be able to be out there in the last 5 minutes of the game in a tight game, if we're up by a goal or even, and be trusted in those situations, and then obviously continue to grow offensively as well.
What are the skills that when you say you want to be able to be trusted to be out in the ice in the last minute of the game, work on your defensive side, what are those particular skills that you work on?
I think at the end of the day, that stuff just comes down to work ethic. You see a lot of guys out there in tight games diving to block shots or getting pucks out or taking a hit to make a play. So I've always kind of wanted to be a guy that can be relied on in that area. When I went to Providence, my head coach, Nate Lehman, really harped on that and helped me get a lot better at that. And I think I've grown, especially in that area over these past 2 years, and I'm hoping to continue that.
Well, Jack, one of the questions a lot of people always ask for young players is there an NHL player that you've looked at, tried to emulate, or who would you describe yourself as a guy you'd like to play like?
Yeah, I've gotten that question quite a bit over the last couple of years, and I've always said a guy like Jamie Benn or Evgeny Malkin, maybe, big guys that can throw their weight around, guys that can play different styles of game, but are also highly offensive and can make a lot of plays and are smart with the puck on their stick.
Golden Knight fans took advantage of the opportunity to see you in person play with Providence at the Fortress Invitational over the holidays, and you did not disappoint, stepping up as tournament MVP, scored the shootout-winning goal in that championship final. That must have been a thrill, just coming off the heels of a National Hockey League game in Vegas. I think it was the St. Louis Blues' big comeback game, and the play was wild and the city was electric, and then going on the ice on that surface that you aspire to play on and coming through.
Yeah. It was pretty awesome. I actually was my whole family was able to make it out. So I had like 20 family members ultimately out there. And we were able to win on Friday night and get into the championship game on Saturday. And I just remember trying to take my pregame nap before our game. And Vegas was on the comeback against the Blues, and it was shaking the hotel across the street. So, that kind of just added to being out there, and having something like that happen just kind of added to the effect of why I like it so much and why I wanted to be with Vegas at the end of the year. And then, going into that game, I was kind of just lucky enough to go in that shootout, and kind of just was something I never could have dreamed of. But obviously I was able to come through and score a big goal, and we were able to win. So it was a lot of fun, and being able to do it on that ice and out there in T-Mobile was really special.
Well, I'm sure you've seen T-Mobile, and your thoughts maybe on the passion of the fans that you see at Vegas Golden Knights games, and how excited this city is. How familiar are you with Vegas and the passion for hockey here?
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Back in 2017 when I was drafted, I wasn't expecting anything like this, and I don't really think if anyone told you they were, I think they'd be lying. I mean, it's really pretty much blown up, and every time I go out there for development camp, or I was out there in January, every time I go out there I like it more and more. And kind of being able to be out there during the season this past January and actually watching and hearing a game take place and the fans going nuts and stuff like that is really just incredible. And I don't think there's any other fan base like it in the NHL right now. So for me, that just adds to another reason why I wanted to be out there and wanted to start my pro career with Vegas.
So what makes now the right time to turn pro after your sophomore season?
I think it was just the right time for me in my development. I think going back to Providence for another year may not have been the best choice just for me personally. I think that it's time for me to start turning pro and start my pro career. And I don't know. I think it's just every player's different. I think the timing for every player is different, and for me, it's right now. So,
what couple of fun ones for you? Because Shane Knighty played so many years in the National Hockey League and professionally. I want you to tell us where you signed the contract and how you did it, and then I want Shane to tell us where he signed his first professional contract and compare the two.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. I was able to sign in my older brother's house. He lives in Rochester as well, so my family and I went down there with, my girlfriend and a couple of my buddies and a couple of my parents' buddies, and we were down in the city, and I was able to sign it there, and we got to take a bunch of pictures and stuff, and everyone was super happy, and it was just a good day. We had some breakfast afterwards, and we were just chatting about kind of how incredible it is that, as a whole family, we're in this position, because I've been dreaming of this for my whole life, and obviously they've been there for the whole ride, helping me along. So it was just pretty special moment.
Okay, Shane.
Well, it was a long time ago, and technology has changed drastically. I remember being, I believe, in my hometown in Manitoba, but I remember running around to find a fax machine. Because not everybody in their household had a fax machine. That was the only way to transfer the...
Who was it with?
My first professor contract was Detroit Red Wings.
Okay.
So, and I remember, salary was a lot different back then as well. But I remember signing it. But I remember the struggle to get it, because I got to find someone. I think it was I had to go to the local insurance place that sold home and car and everything, because they had a fax machine there, and we had it faxed over and signed it up. So yeah, that was long time ago.
You know what has stayed consistent is mom and dad's fridges, and yours is probably plastered with pictures of
Yes.
you and the grandkids now. And how many pictures on your fridge as we look over your left shoulder, right there, Jack?
Yeah, it's kind of ever since I moved out and went to prep school, it turned from the fridge over pretty much into my room. My mom kind of took over my room, and it's kind of her thing now, is adding all the trophies and jerseys and stuff into it. So she has a good time with it, and it's pretty cool how she's kind of made out with it. So
That's awesome. Congratulations again. Look forward to seeing you in Vegas as a member of the Golden Knights organization now that it's official.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Jack Dugan, a fifth-round choice in 2017, but led the NCAA in scoring. So drafted out of the prep school, then played 1 year in the USJHL and 2 years at Providence College, and you see the development and the blossoming of his game.
Well, you look at it, Chicago Steel in the USHL and put up big numbers there, 30-goal season, and then, then he makes the jump to the NCAA, had a great first year, and then second year just kind of took off. So that's what you want to see when you draft a player. You love to see the curve going up, and he's been able to do that. It'll be exciting to see what he can do here as he turns pro and how he makes the adjustments to the game of pro hockey, which is the biggest. It's a big jump to the American Hockey League, and then another jump to the NHL. Some players are able to go right through, and but that said, usually American Hockey League, there's no better way to kind of learn your craft, learn about the pro life, learn how to adjust, and that's where you kind of find yourself, how you're going to fit in as a pro player. So it'd be exciting to watch Jack Dugan and his development here as a Golden Knight player.
Haven't thought of a fax machine in a long time.
I know,
man.
that
was awesome.
I'm glad you kind of let him answer first. I had to think about it. That was a long time ago.
Practice wrapping up on the Summerlin Hospital rink here at Sydney National Arena. Not as long of a scrimmage today, a little bit of a twist in how Pete DeBoer has approached it, more special teams. They did bring both groups together, but more special teams work. Yeah,
they did a little scrimmage, came back out, and he said they were going to start to work on special teams. And as mentioned earlier, it's going to be such a key component here of being successful when you get to the round robin, when you get to playoffs, you get to the return to play format. Both sides of it. The penalty kill was an area the Golden Knights really wanted to, wasn't great numbers this year. Pete DeBoer came in, he made some tweaks. And I think that it takes a little while for that adjustment. Now he's been able to reinforce not only all their systems, but special teams. And this is a chance not only for them to watch video, to get more comfortable. Pete DeBoer's teams, when you look over the years, he's always been in the top 5, his teams for penalty kills. So that was maybe, if you look at one area the Golden Knights really needed to improve on when it came to the pause, was their penalty kill getting better. And he said he'd like the adjustments they'd made. It just takes a little bit of time. So they'll continue to work on that as well as the power play.
And they're known as a 4-line team, but for much of this season, they struggled to find a consistent area of production from the third line.
Yeah.
That's been tweaked here coming out of the pause.
Well, you've got, they made the acquisition of Chandler Stevenson. you made, you watched the development of Nick Waugh, who, I can't talk enough about. I think, incredible hockey sense, size, strength. And then Alex Tuck, a player who we know what's capable of, but, an unfortunate season riddled with injury. So these three guys come together. This is a brand new line that we're finally first getting a look at. And so you've got a combination of defensive awareness. You've got offensive skill. Tuck has been able to put up big numbers. Chandler Stevenson had, a career season offensively. But especially Waugh and Stevenson, I think Nick Waugh I think there's potential for him to, eventually in his career be, he's a third line center. He could be a second line center. I think there's the growth of his game, his ability to stay here. This line really intrigues me because I think they are going to be hard to play against number one because of their size, because of the speed of Stevenson and Tuck, whether it's on the wings, the ability to have a right-handed centerman or a left-handed centerman, depending where the face-off is, because Stevenson and Waugh can both swap in and out. They're both great.
So you take it on your strong
side.
That's
yeah.
your forehand side? That you mean
backhand.
Okay, backhand.
Backhand.
That's why I asked these
right-handed.
questions.
It's kind of like paddling a boat. Left-handed, you're strong. So that's a great tool to have as a coach and as a line, the ability, whether you're offensive, defensive zone. And then strength. I really think they could be a line that could shut down the opposition. I think they're a line that could really, be great physically with speed. There's so many things. So it's interesting to watch because it was an area all year that we thought more production from the third line, as you said. A four-line team, but they wanted more production. Well, I think this is the line that can certainly do it, and they can be a big X factor for the Golden Knights.
And three players that the word potential is used a lot around. Chandler Stevenson coming into his own after being acquired by Kelly McCrimmon and the Vegas Golden Knights. But Nick Waugh, you see that ceiling.
Oh.
Alex Tuck, you see that ceiling. But three players that were that potential, that could be realized very quickly. It's within sight.
Yeah, and not only that, there's a little extra, motivation for them. I think Nick Waugh, a guy who went up and down, and the transactions he had this year were incredible, but not a peep from him. He just went about his business. He knows what his game is. So there's more confidence. I think Alex Tuck wants to come back, and there's probably a little chip on his shoulder to prove himself, to get back to the Alex Tuck that we really know that can be a difference maker. And Chandler Stevens still trying to show that, this season wasn't a one-off. This is my game now. So these guys are motivated to work together as a line and to show that they're continuing to grow. Like Nick Waugh wants to show he's a permanent NHL, which I believe he is. Alex Tuck wants to come back and get to the form of Alex Tuck, where he's a 20-goal, 50-point guy. And Chandler Stevenson wants to show that, coming from Washington, where he was a depth guy, well, I'm not anymore. And we've certainly seen that from all three of them. But you got to, as this league shows over and over, you got to continue to prove yourself. And I think these guys want to prove themselves.
VGK analyst Shane Knighty looking forward to the start of the games, the exhibition encounter against the Arizona Coyotes, and then into the round robin with Dallas, St. Louis, and Colorado. He'll be in this studio calling the games, so he's getting nice and comfortable and settled on that front. And the big news today, Shane, the return of Marc-Andre Fleury, the debut in Phase 3, the return to the ice with the big group for the veteran goaltender. He was on the ice, and that is a big sigh of relief for all VGK fans. From Studio 31, City National Arena, practice complete on day 5 of Phase 3 for the Vegas Golden Knights. A 4th day of workouts and some significant happenings in and around the organization the last couple of days. You've heard from Mike McKenna, if you were with us early in the training camp bulletin. Gary Lawless was with us, Shane Knighty as well, and the VGK Insider back with us. Start at the very top, Marc-Andre Fleury back on the ice, and just what that means.
Obviously, he's a big leader for this group and one of the best goalies in the National Hockey League. So I think great for him to be back. And I think, Robin Lehner probably, while Marc-Andre Fleury wasn't in net and on the ice, maybe kind of, that gave him a little bit of a boost, feeling like the number one for a few days. And I do think we have a competition going on here at this training camp. So it begins in earnest now with Fleury back in the mix.
You and I were talking the other day, just trying to brainstorm and bounce things around, and I asked you, has there ever been a true platoon where you switch goaltenders every game in the Stanley Cup playoffs? And we were going back through it, whether it's Jerry Cheevers or Gilles Gilbert. And
that's the one that kind of the Bruins, Don Cherry used Gilbert and Cheevers went back and forth and would go back and forth during a series. So that's the last time I kind of really remember it. I think the Buffalo Sabres did a little bit with Don Edwards and maybe was it Froze or Sauvé, one of those guys. Yeah, Sauvé. So you're a better.
The Oilers had Moog and Fear, but they didn't switch back and forth.
Ranford and Moog too, I guess. Actually, no. So yeah,
Ranford and Fear. Yeah, it's but not that traditional, and I don't know whether you go there, probably not, but it's really intriguing.
That is really compelling because, if you watch the Golden Knights in their run to the Stanley Cup final in their inaugural season, Marc-Andre Fleury was probably a little banged up and a little tired by the time they got to the final in the Washington Capitals. He was so good against the Winnipeg Jets, and then the Capitals really they had his number in that last series, and you wonder how much of a role fatigue played.
And now it's 5 rounds, really, because you have the round robin portion and then the 4 rounds.
Yeah, well, listen, I think you definitely go straight rotation for the first 4 games. The preseason, the exhibition game, or whatever they want to call it, and the 3 round robin games, I think those are split. And then once you start, all things being equal, the net is likely going to be Marc-Andre Fleury's for the first playoff game. But listen, there can't be a long leash. You just, the opportunity is here to win the Stanley Cup, and you've got 2 of the best goalies in the National Hockey League. I think it would be foolish to make a decision before this started that you were just gonna use one of them. I can't see Pete DeBoer doing that.
Just to put an exclamation point on that, the moment for me of the first 5 days, the 4 days of skating, that stands out is a real big cheer the other day when Robin Lehner got beat for a goal. And it wasn't cheering for the goal, it was cheering and surprise and a compliment to Robin Lehner because he has given up so few in the drills and the scrimmage.
Well, and he spoke about the fact that his style is really suited to, coming back and being strong right away. And that's because his style is his body. He's huge. He fills the net. He doesn't move a lot, and it's that obviously gives him an edge right from the beginning because you don't forget size. That doesn't disappear. Size doesn't get rusty. The size just it's a constant.
He has been lights out, and whether it's being here throughout Phase 2 that's helped him, or that being able to be quiet as a goaltender, but it's been noticeable and a real positive.
I think we shouldn't. We talked about a lot of these other factors that were able to be put into effect during the pause. The fact that Mike Rosati was able to probably spend a lot of time talking technique and working with the 2 goalies on their fundamentals and doing some mental exercises, if not on the ice. Probably a big edge for those guys as well.
Observations at the end of the first week?
Well, we talked a little bit about this during the stream. I think the pace and the execution that the Golden Knights have been able to, to come back with right away. They look like a team in midseason form. Now, maybe everybody looks like that, and we have to wait and have them on the ice against competition. I'm very excited to see that because I do believe that the Golden Knights committed and had a plan and executed their plan during phase 1 and phase 2 that was better than others. And it will be really fascinating for me to see them once competition starts. I think they're going to be ahead of the competition.
That was intriguing when Kelly McCrimmon and his availability the other day, the general manager of the Vegas Golden Knights, said trying to use that to your advantage.
Yeah.
A couple of other observations. One, Peyton Krebs should also mention that he's with this group, and that's significant within the organization.
Certainly, I think that Peyton is going to be a very good National Hockey League player. He's he's highly skilled and just needs to, physically mature. But he's very competitive, and I just think sees the game really well, loves the game. Wants to be a pro, wants to be an elite pro. So I think Peyton Krebs is going to be a regular in the National Hockey League a lot quicker than a lot of people think.
Floor is yours before I have one more thing that I want to bring up.
Floor is mine. Really? Well, I guess the other thing that that has jumped out for me, the players that were new, Martinez, Cousins, and Leonard, they look a lot more comfortable with the rest of the group, and I think it's kind of like this is because they've been away for 4 months and come back. It's like it's their second season with a new team, and obviously I think that would make them feel a lot more comfortable. And then I also think Nick Waugh and Zach Whitecloud, and Shane said it very well, talking about all of the things that Nick Waugh brings, but Zach Whitecloud as well. That third pairing with him and Nick Holden, I think that could be another big edge for the Golden Knights. That's opposition teams want to get their top end units out against the third pairing and take advantage of them. Well, I don't think that Nick Holden and Zach Whitecloud are a third pairing that you can take advantage of. I think they can log a lot of minutes, they can eat minutes, move the puck up ice, and I think Pete DeBoer and Ryan McGill will have a lot of confidence in them.
There's going to be so much new in the players' faces when they go to Edmonton and take part in the bubble and no fans in the building. So just being comfortable around everybody else and with your new teammates, I think it's going to take care of a lot of just whether it's anxious moments or just being able to observe and absorb everything on that front. Should also acknowledge that Rocky Thompson has left the organization. The Henderson Silver Knights will have a new head coach.
Yeah, Kelly McCrimmon announced yesterday that Rocky had moved on to another NHL organization, and shortly after that, Chris Johnson of Sportsnet and Darren Dreger of TSN reported that Rocky will be joining the San Jose Sharks organization at the NHL level on Bob Bugner's staff. They go back. They were both the Windsor Spitfires have their ties back as coaches, and I think Bob was a part owner at one point in time of the Spitfires as well. So the Ontario
both won
League.
Memorial Cups as coach of the Windsor Spitfires.
Yeah. So that's kind of a natural fit right there. So Rocky did a great job with the Chicago Wolves, and now Kelly McCrimmon will be on the lookout for a new coach for his American Hockey League team.
That's a much sought after job.
Oh, this is a great job to get, and I would imagine there'll be Kelly's phone will be ringing off the hook. There'll be lots of texts and calls, people wanting to put their name forward.
5 days in, 2 hours on a Friday, working this live stream. It's been awesome. Glad that you're along on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook. Our live stream will return tomorrow with practice. Check the social media channels for exactly when we'll be on. Also, VGK Daily Podcast is out every day. Thank you for today's episode in covering
They
both
get
the
their
Jack
money's
Dugan.
worth for me today.
They did.
Wow.
You
And you.
can take, well, we might need you for another hour, but then you can shut it down. But we'll be back with you tomorrow on these same platforms for day 6 of Phase 3 for the Vegas Golden Knights. Thanks to Jack Dugan as well for joining us, and congratulations. The 5th-round draft choice, NCAA's leading point producer, signs his first professional contract. It's a 2-year deal, and we'll see where he slots in, but a highly skilled player coming into the pro ranks. And next gem, Cam, that's been outstanding. Those views, taking in the practices and the scrimmages. It's been awesome. Appreciate you joining us, you as well, Gary, and our entire crew. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow as Phase 3 continues, the Vegas Golden Knights Training Camp 2.0 from here in Summerlin and Studio 31 at City National Arena.